Hello, everyone. My name's Everything Explained. Today we're going to be looking at NFL players that let themselves go, aka NFL players that fell off.
One NFL player became 600 pounds.
Bro, you weigh like the size of, that's like how much two car engines weighs.
Another became an armed robber.
Join the club.
And that's not even the worst of it all. These are the NFL players that let themselves go. JaMarcus Russell came into the NFL,
Bro, I was about to say, I remember him.
signing a contract worth around $70 million. But it wasn't even about the money to him. It was about the cheeseburgers. JaMarcus was a star athlete in high school and college, where he became a legendary quarterback. At LSU, he got better each year, throwing over 6,000 yards and 52 touchdowns. But the 2007 Sugar Bowl game is where JaMarcus let the world know he belonged in the NFL. That game, JaMarcus threw and rushed over 350 yards, scored 3 touchdowns, and was named MVP for the win. And there was one person watching in that crowd that mattered more than anyone else. Oakland Raiders owner Al Davis. He saw what JaMarcus did and wanted to draft him number 1. So he did. But as soon as JaMarcus made it to the NFL, all the problems came out. He refused to study or practice unless he was paid a contract he wanted. So the Raiders rearranged the deal and gave him $68 million. You'd think this would be enough money to play the sport you love for a living. But when JaMarcus joined the team, he wasn't prepared for games and looked out of shape on the field. The man was 185 pounds in high school.
As a quarterback?
But within just a couple of years, he put on another 80, ballooning up to 265.
As a quarterback?
At only 6'6". This guy is a pro athlete with a 30.6 BMI. That is clinically obese. But that wasn't even the worst part about JaMarcus's issues. On Tuesdays, the team studied their opponents and prepared for the next game. And JaMarcus would always skip those days, so the staff tried everything. They even made DVDs of the game plans for JaMarcus to watch at home.
Damn, they are really accommodating to this nigga's desire to not play. Or not study, excuse me.
But he still never seemed ready to play. So coaches sent JaMarcus a blank DVD to see if he'd notice. And the next time they saw him, he said the game plan looked good. Something had to be done.
Damn, bro. Come on, you can't be getting duped like that. They gave you a brand new CD with nothing on it.
So his teammates came to JaMarcus.
Can you imagine that? Can you imagine giving a nigga a blank DVD and telling him to fucking let you know what he thinks about what's on it? Then he comes back and he's like, hey, it all looks good. Bro, I think you gotta shoot that nigga. At that point, you gotta shoot him.
Marcus's house to watch film with him. And that's when they found out about his secret addiction. He'd make them...
B-Dubs taps a new keg every 35 seconds. For beer so fresh, it'll make you...
I just like this ad.
Are you crying?
I don't like tears.
To the greatest of all times, Buffalo Wild
Fuck
Wings.
my feedback.
Bring 10 Wendy's cheeseburgers as a bribe to watch the film.
Damn, they said addiction. I was thinking like, yo, y'all finna find all kind of pipes and needles in this nigga's bedroom. But nah, man, they found something else. Something way worse. Wendy's wrappers.
And when the organization found out, it all made sense. They just paid a 300-pound man tens of millions just so he could eat his way out of the league.
Goodness gracious. Bro, that nigga looked like he spent $500,000 at Wendy's.
So they released JaMarcus, and he finished his career with more interceptions than touchdowns. Fast forward a few years later, and he attempted an NFL comeback. But would you want someone on your team who ate their way out of the league? No? Well, neither did anyone else. But at least JaMarcus didn't end up millions in debt like this next NFL player.
Oh, dang, bro. Why you gotta throw salt at him like that? He was like, yeah, man, you know, he might be a fat ass, but at least he got money still.
Imagine going from a $60 million contract, graced with the cover of Madden, to being $1.5 million in debt. That's exactly what...
I mean, that it could be worse. I'd be hearing stories where people be like 60 million dead and whatnot. 1.5, I'm pretty sure you could take that out in loans.
Happened to Vince Young. It all started when Vince was drafted to the NFL back in 2006 with the number 3 pick. He signed a $25 million contract before ever stepping on a pro field.
I don't even think I've ever made a million like in every single job I've worked putting it all together. Like, how the hell do you go broke with 25 M's?
But Vince turned into
And I
one
know
of
you're not getting all 25 M's at once, but I mean like if you fucking were like getting 25 M's, if you were getting 25 M's like over like a span of like what like 4 to 6 years, you definitely shouldn't be going broke.
the biggest busts of all time. In college, Vince was setting records, being the first player ever to pass for 3,000 yards and rush for 1,000 yards in a single season. Just think about this. Lamar Jackson didn't even do that this year, and he's the fastest player in NFL history and a face of the league. But even though Vince was
Don't forget Michael Vick.
a legend in college, once he made it to the NFL, he realized it was way harder to be in this league. By his third season, he was nothing more than an average quarterback. In fact,
Damn.
he threw more interceptions than touchdowns during his 6 years in the NFL. So he lost his love for the game and retired in 2011.
Damn, that was sad.
But hey, at least he walked away with $60 million.
Oh, bro, how did you end up in debt?
You save that, and you got enough for a lifetime, even your kid's lifetime. But Vince Young had different plans for his retirement. He decided to spend all of his money on his Cheesecake Factory addiction. Vince would spend $5,000 a week at the restaurant. One
Bro, what? How much cheesecake are you eating?
employee said
This must be that nigga who's 600 pounds that they were showing in the intro.
he spent $15,000 in one night. But that's just where the reckless spending started. One day, Vince decided he wanted some silence
Why is that nigga's skin so dry?
when he flew across the country. So he bought every single seat on a Southwest flight to be by himself, spending
What?
around $20,000.
Bruh, like you got benched from the NFL. They kicked you out basically. They said, nigga, retire. You're not good. And you spending 20K a night for and not even for like a luxury jet. You just bought every seat on a South by Southwest fucking nah, bro. Nah. I'm sorry, I said South by Southwest. I meant Southwest Airlines. Bro, I just don't understand why you would do that. Yeah, I want to fly alone. Just fly first class, bro. You're fucking yeah, I almost said you're fucking Vince McMahon. You ain't got that kind of money against Young. You ain't that rich.
On a single flight. Vince thought he was invincible. A $300,000 birthday party, Ferraris. He was buying alcohol for every hot girl he saw. But one day, Vince
Simping leads to broke niggas.
got a call from his financial advisor telling him he was dead broke. This man went from $60 million to negative $1.5 million in literally 3 years. So Vince was forced to file bankruptcy. Things were so bad, selling all of his old assets weren't enough to cover his debt. So he eventually went back to school, entered rehab, and hit the reset button on his life. That's tough. But it could be worse. I mean, at least Vince didn't become one of the most hated NFL players ever, like this next guy.
Uh-oh.
To this day, no one can really explain
Oh my goodness. AB. Actually, I think he's back in the league. I'm not 100 on that though.
what happened to Antonio Brown. Some blame his ego, others think the Madden curse had something to do with it. But either way, AB let himself go. During his first years in the NFL, he racked up over 11,000 yards and almost 80 touchdowns. He had 100 receptions in 6 straight seasons, the longest streak in NFL history. Antonio felt unstoppable, and with that, he became the second highest paid wide receiver ever, making $17 million per season. No wonder his ego got so big. He started feeling like he was the organization, not the team, and he started beefing with people in the locker room. Caught streaming teammates bashing other NFL players and partying nonstop. Eventually, he demanded a trade from the Steelers, so he was dealt to the Raiders. And then once he got to Oakland, the problems only got worse. He literally showed up to training camp in a hot air balloon, but he couldn't even practice.
What the hell?
He had to sit out after suffering frostbite from a recent cryotherapy session, but it just keeps getting worse.
What the hell?
Around that time, the NFL started placing uniform bans for the upcoming season, and one of those was a helmet that was Antonio's favorite. So he refused to practice with the Raiders for
Bro, what kind of shenanigans is he really his helmet is different than the other guy's helmet. Wow. What a bozo. That nigga said, yeah, bro, ain't the helmet I want. I'm not playing. even though you're paying me millions.
For weeks trying to petition the league. The Raiders started fining him for this, and Antonio posted the letter to Instagram with the caption, "When your own team wants to hate, everybody gotta pay this year." And later in the day, Antonio showed up to practice, confronted the GM, and teammates had to hold him back. A few days later, Antonio apologized to everyone during a team meeting, and things actually seemed like they were turning around. Until later that day, Antonio posted a video on YouTube of a private conversation recorded between him and John Gruden. So the Raiders
Oh no. Why would you do that, bro?
fined him $215,000 for conduct detrimental to the team and avoided Antonio's $30 million in guaranteed money. So he went back to Instagram and posted, "You're gonna piss a lot of people off when you start doing what's best for you. I'm not mad at anyone. I'm just asking for the freedom to prove them all wrong." And just hours later, the Raiders released him. The very next day, Antonio was signed by the Patriots.
I forgot about that.
The internet nearly exploded, imagining him and Tom Brady together. And
Tom Brady, Belichick, and AB. How could I forget that?
they went on to play a single game together. But then another scandal was released and the Patriots released him immediately. Antonio went from a superstar and a face of the NFL to nearly blackballed from ever playing again. So he's lucky the Buccaneers gave him a chance to prove himself again. But on the bright side, at least Antonio has kept himself in shape, unlike this next NFL player.
See, I knew it. I couldn't remember like what team he was on, but I knew he was back in the league. But that's right. He plays with Tom Brady and Gronk.
Jared Lorenzen's fall-off is one of
Oh no, not him.
the most heartbreaking stories in the NFL.
The new head of Unibet US doesn't know football.
I didn't realize
That
this
is
video
football.
was going to get sad.
Download Unibet.
Unlike any pro athlete ever, he was the first to predict his own death. It all started when Jared was a kid. Throughout his teen years, Jared treated sports like his life depended on it. He could have made it to the NBA if he wanted, but he was even better at football. And I mean, the man was already 240 pounds in high school, so it worked out perfectly. As a junior, Jared passed for a record 2,759 yards and 37 touchdowns. Then during his senior year, he threw for 3,393 yards, 45 touchdowns, and rushed for 15 touchdowns as well.
that's crazy.
Jared went to Kentucky for college, and there he became even better. He had to drop 40 pounds down to 200 for his coach to let him play, but it was well worth it. Jared spent 4 years at Kentucky, and he threw for over 10,000 yards and 78 touchdowns, both records to this day. But during all this time, Jared's weight was slowly becoming a concern. By the end of his college career, Jared was 285 pounds. He wasn't the size of a typical quarterback, so no NFL team wanted to draft him. He signed to the Giants as a free agent, but they already had 2 solid quarterbacks, so Jared didn't get much of an opportunity. He eventually joined the Colts, where he only played that preseason. After playing 4 games through 3 seasons, Jared decided the NFL just wasn't for him. And in 2011, he became a GM of the Northern Kentucky River Monsters. But he still preferred being on the field, so the team let him become their quarterback. And that year, Jared threw for 81 touchdowns and won MVP. He played a few seasons, but injuries got the best of him. And when he retired in 2013, the man was well over 300 pounds. Not long after he retired, his wife divorced him, and it sent him into a spiraling depression. The only comfort he had was food. The years went by, and Jared kept eating. Doctors told him he was literally killing himself, but Jared was in denial. Then, in 2019, Jared looked at himself in the mirror, hopped on a scale, and hated what he saw. So he started filming a documentary called The Jared Lorenzen Project. And during the first episode, he was nearly 600 pounds. Jared wanted to use this opportunity to inspire anyone else dealing with similar issues. He admitted he was eating dangerously and said, "The way I'm going right now, as scary as it is, I'll die in 5 years. If I don't wake up tomorrow, it wouldn't be a shock to many people." Jared was really trying, but one day, he felt a pain in his chest. So, Jared called his father and said he didn't feel well. They called an ambulance, and when he got to the hospital, doctors found his oxygen levels low, his kidneys were failing, and his heart was enlarged. Jared lasted a few more days, but even with the doctors doing everything they could, he tragically passed away at 38 years old.
Oh,
Michael Vick was
R.I.P.
a face.
If you guys ever need someone to talk to, you guys can always hit me up, leave it in the comments. Never alone. I know life sucks sometimes, but you guys are never alone. I'm gonna actually make an Instagram and ways you guys can get in touch with me, just in case you guys ever want to chop it up or give me any video ideas. I love all of you guys, and yeah, just let somebody know you love them. Let somebody know they're not alone.
Of the NFL. He had all the
Michael Vick was Michael Vick was insane with it. Like Lamar Jackson ain't got nothing on Michael Vick. Just saying.
potential in the world to become a Hall of Famer. And in the prime of his career, a scandal he was involved in.
Bruh, the dog fighting. Come on, don't. I mean, I don't agree with like beating dogs, but I mean, come on now, man.
Completely ruined his life. When Vick was drafted to the NFL,
I think his grandma died when he was in there serving for dog fighting. Like, I mean, you got guys like shooting up like fucking all kind of shit and just pleading insanity and like but I mean, yeah.
he became one of the rarest players ever. Running a 4.25 in the 40-yard dash, he was the fastest NFL quarterback ever. And that's why in Madden, they gave him the highest overall speed of 95. So not only was Vick a quarterback, he could run the ball better than most running backs. And after 3 seasons, he got the biggest contract in the NFL at the time. $130 million. It seemed like nothing could slow him down until people found out what he was spending all these millions on. After receiving a tip, police started investigating Vick's cousin, and eventually the trail led right to Michael Vick himself. And what they found was so horrifying, it sent chills down their spines. Instead of finding evidence towards his cousin, they found dozens of injured and neglected dogs owned by
That is pretty monstrous, though, I'm not gonna lie.
Vick. Yeah, that's right. This world-class athlete was spending his free time running a dogfighting ring, going under the alias of Uki. From 2001 to 2007, hundreds of thousands of dollars were being gambled here. And at first when this was found, Vick denied any involvement. But that didn't last long, since, they found the dogs in his own house. So he accepted the consequences, was sentenced to 23 months in prison, and paid over $1 million for care, recovery, and adoption for the dogs involved. Vick went from a superstar football player to a felon. Not just a felon. This dude was fighting dogs, man. Everyone loves dogs. After this, the public hated Michael Vick. But at the end of the day, the NFL's a business, so he wasn't completely banned from the league. He rejoined the NFL and played from 2009
Eagles and the Steelers, I think.
into 2015 for the Eagles, Jets, and Steelers. But through all these years, fans protested and petitioned to have him kicked out. And in 2016, when his stats were dropping off, no teams wanted him, and he had to retire. This video right here is about Shaquem Griffin, the only player to ever make it to the NFL with one hand. It's an incredible story, and dude, you're just missing out not watching it. So what are you doing? You
We might have to react on that.
got nothing else to do, man. Just click on it.
I said they didn't even talk about the one that was an armed robber. Anyway. Well, my name's Everything Explained. Any video ideas, let me know. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Leave a like, subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.